Connecticut. Sometimes considered New England, sometimes not. Home to one of the biggest Ivy League schools in the country, Yale University. It is also home to major public transit hubs because the state has some great public transit considering it's within New York's tri-state area. They've got quite a few Amtrak stations, Metro North and CT-Rail commuter rail, and loads of bus networks. You can catch the Metro North New Haven line to Grand Central Station from New Haven and Amtrak along the same route. You could also catch the CT-Rail Hartford line to the state's capital city of Hartford. CT-Rail and Amtrak actually operate a commuter route together between Hartford and Springfield, the capital of Massachusetts. Anyway, you get the idea. Connecticut is full of amazing public transit. Connecticut was once home to more luxurious trains operated by its namesake railroad, the New York, New Haven, and Hartford, or simply the New Haven. The New Haven specialized in their commuter services, although they did have some named trains that went to farther destinations, one of which was arguably an incredibly fine train for being a secondary route. Ladies and gentlemen, join me and my friend Alex as we tell the story of the New Haven Railroad's Yankee Clipper.
First of all, the New Haven Railroad in general was formed as a merger between a lot of smaller companies. Apparently, the original promoters for the New Haven never actually intended for their most important and profitable route to be the corridor between New York and Boston, but it was, especially after Mr. J.P. Morgan got involved. The stretch of over 200 miles was further improved with electrification west of New Haven and a direct connection to Midtown Manhattan after 1917 via the Hell Gate Bridge. From the words of American Rails, that bridge in question gave the New Haven Railroad access to both of New York's major stations, Grand Central and Penn Station.
The New Haven had a premier train called the Merchants Limited, which ran between New York and Boston on an express schedule. The railroad later inaugurated the Yankee Clipper in 1930, which ran on the same route as the Merchants on an earlier schedule and provided an easier connection to a Springfield-bound train at New Haven. Oddly enough, the Yankee joined the timetable at the peak of the Great Depression. The Yankee Clipper was apparently named after a type of ship that once dominated maritime trade during the 1800s, contradictory to what some of you might have thought.
The Merchants was the premier train, but the Clipper was apparently just as nice. According to Peter Lynch, the Clipper apparently ran with upwards of 17 cars at its peak, consisting of a lot of standard coaches, a buffet parlor lounge car, 4 extra parlor cars, a diner, and an observation lounge car at the rear of the train.
The Yankee Clipper apparently had some setbacks when it got inaugurated. As said earlier, it was inaugurated during the Great Depression. In 1932, due to lack of demand, the train only started with 5 cars, and even then, the lack of demand was so bad that the train might have been cancelled within the first year of operation. However, those problems were quickly averted with a new schedule. For many years, it left each city at 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon, but switched to an earlier departure of 1 o'clock p.m., which was made permanent.
When it comes to what powered the train, when it was inaugurated, it was first hauled with the popular I-4 class Pacifics, but around 1938, the Pacifics were replaced with the utterly gorgeous streamlined I-5 Hudson locomotives. The I-5s took care of most passenger jobs outside of commuter operations. The Clipper got more upgrades, with the train getting the new American Flyer lightweight streamlined coaches around the same time.
The Yankee Clipper ran on an express schedule from New York to Boston. It would leave Grand Central Station and head eastbound, making no stops until New Haven Union Station. A connecting train to Springfield would wait for the Clipper in New Haven, then the train would continue to serve New London, Providence, Route 128, Boston Back Bay, and finally arrive at Boston South Station 4 hours later. The total route length was 230 miles, and the train ran on a 4.5-hour schedule, giving the train an average speed of roughly 51 miles per hour. The train numbers were 22 going northbound and 23 going south. When World War II came about, the New Haven, like most other American railroads, put a halt on making their trains look nicer and locked in to help out with the war efforts. They mainly specialized in transporting troops and war materials across their network. They also operated their usual passenger services under tremendous pressure due to a labor shortage. According to the University of Connecticut, the shortage also had the railroad hire Mexican laborers, or braceros as they were called, to help with maintaining the railroad's tracks. They were provided with housing and fair conditions. The New Haven also ran wartime advertising campaigns like the Kid in Upper 4 to boost employee morale and public support.
When World War II ended, the New Haven resumed improving their passenger rail fleet. They acquired 207 new cars from Pullman by 1954, sporting fluted stainless steel and costing a staggering $20 million, which is about $240 million today. Damn, inflation really doesn't mess around. These new cars offered bigger windows and better legroom than the American Flyers for maximum comfort.
When dieselization came around, the New Haven didn't fully get rid of their I-5 Hudsons until the late 1950s, even though they've been buying diesels since 1948. Their first batch of diesels were the Alco PAs, but they quickly expanded from there. They purchased the strange Fairbanks Morse Sealiners, and most notably, their ubiquitous FL9 locomotives.
Unfortunately, the 1950s was an extremely tough decade for the railroad. Throughout the decade, they suffered diminishing ridership and lost nearly half their revenue. Management didn't help almost at all, with Fred Dumaine and Pat McGinnis being in charge during the 50s. If you know your New Haven history, you know just how bad McGinnis was for this railroad. But if you don't, let me refresh you. McGinnis? Well, he sucked. Why? He prioritized looks over everything else. He spent more time buying new engines and painting them until perfection while performing very little maintenance on the railroad that he controlled. And let's not forget about the disastrous damage that Hurricane Diane did to the network in 1955. As a result, ridership continued to dwindle by 1956. The New Haven stopped making money. Because of this, in 1962, the westbound Clipper was discontinued, while the eastbound train survived long enough into the disaster that was Penn Central. The Penn Central renumbered the eastbound train from 22 to 6. The eastbound Yankee Clipper was quietly discontinued on April 30th, 1971. Or was it?
Amtrak took over operations on May 1st of that year, and according to Wikipedia, the Clipper technically still lived, but not really. Amtrak technically operated the Yankee Clipper upwards of 4 separate times. The first time was between May 1st and November 13th. The second time was between August 15th, 1973 and February 15th, 1976. I think the second time was when they were testing the failure that was the UAC turbo train on the route for a time. Third time was from February 15th to September 9th of the same year. That time, the route was truncated to run as far as Providence, Rhode Island from New York City. The fourth and final time was between October 28th, 1979 and October 28th, 1995. This time, the Clipper ran along the full route of the Northeast Corridor between DC and Boston. By this time, the Clipper was then merged into the Northeast Regional brand.
Today, the Yankee Clipper technically still exists. The Metro-North Railroad, which is the commuter rail agency of the greater New York area east of the Hudson River, runs a non-stop sports train with the Clipper's name from New Haven to New York City's Yankee Stadium, terminating at the Yankees East 153rd Street station. The network's Harlem and Hudson lines do this apparently as well. The train, however, only runs during game days. If any of you ever rode this train, tell me your experience in the comments. The route it traveled on very much still active, as it is the Northeast Corridor. Over 50 Northeast regionals thunder down the corridor every day, running between Boston and Washington, D.C.
The Yankee Clipper was a secondary train along the busy shoreline of the New Haven Railroad, and it did its job just fine, despite persevering through the railroad's worst possible times. It was incredibly fancy for not being the premier train. It was very fast, and the name still lives on, even if it's for something else. I hope you enjoyed this collaboration with me and my friend Alex. Thanks a million for watching, and we hope to see you in the next video. Have a good day.